Mm-hmm.
It's twirling.
Okay. The streaming is turned on, so it should be soon.
Okay, we're getting there.
There we go.
Yeah, you
Yep,
got
I
it?
got it.
Why don't I? Okay, I need to figure out why I don't. Here, it's in order. There you go. All right, we're on. So
All right, thank you.
I'm going to shut off my.
Okay, thanks a lot. Good evening. I'm Eileen Daly. I'm the chair of the West Hartford Library Board, and the meeting of said board will come to order. Welcome to the May 22nd, 2023 meeting of our West Hartford Library Board. And it's format. Members of the public can view the meeting live on West Hartford Community Television at www.whctv.org and www.youtube.com/WHCTV5. The meeting is also being recorded for on-demand viewing and will be available on the town's website for at least 45 days. Since we are conducting this meeting in a virtual format, there are some special rules and procedures that I need to cover before we begin. First, I ask all participants to mute your device. Raise your hand and I will call on you in the order I see hands raised. If you are participating by audio only or I do not call on you and the debate is ending, then unmute your phone and let me know so that I can recognize you. Second, all speakers must make a good faith effort to state the person's name and title at the outset of each occasion that such person participates in the meeting. Third, all votes must be taken by roll call unless the vote is unanimous. Fourth, a reminder that if any participant immediately call Heidi Reagan, whose phone number you were provided earlier. Heidi will let me know and we will recess the meeting while the problem is resolved. If it cannot be resolved quickly, we will ask you to call into the meeting using a phone and participate via audio only. So I will now call the roll and note the staff members who are present. Kim Cohen.
Kim Cohen, Library Board Member, present.
Yes, EJ Greenspan.
EJ Greenspan, Library Board Member, present.
Thank you. We are awaiting Gail Crockett and Natalia Menjivar's arrival.
Natalia's here.
I'm here.
I'm sorry, I don't see you. Let me try fixing my screen. Sorry.
Sorry. Natalia Menjivar, Library Board Member, present.
Beautiful, thank you. All right. So also present is Laura Irmscher, Library Director, and Office Operations Specialist Heidi Reagan, and Jen Francis. So that's.
Jen actually just left. She got us started and went on to other things.
That's all well and good. Thank you. So here we are with the agenda, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. And the second item is public comment. If there is any, please speak up. Okay. Seeing no public comment, I have item 3 for the approval of the consent agenda, which includes items 4, 8AI, and 8AII. May I have a? Is that you, EJ?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're cutting out a little bit, but I will move the to approve the consent agenda. This is EJ Greenspan, Board Member.
Yes, thank you. May I have a second to approve that? All right, Kim, thank you. All right, so moved. And then Moving on to the chair's report. I don't have anything new this month. Old business is the fiscal year 24 budget update from Laura Irmscher, the director of the library.
Thank you, Eileen. Laura Irmscher, library director. I am. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Great. I am so happy to say that the town council passed the town's budget that included the library's budget with everything we asked for. So we've got approval to go fine free, which adjusted the revenue part of our budget, and we got funding for our librarian 2 position. And it's also worth noting that the original town budget was submitted to have that position funded for the first year out of ARPA funds, but the town council actually revised it so it's just fully funded in the general budget. So we don't even have that caveat with it. And I'm even happier to say that position is posted. So you can now apply on the Town of West Hartford jobs website, our new program librarian. So we'll be taking applications through, I think it's June 16th it closes. And I am so excited this summer to tell you about our new staff member. It's been a while, but we're so happy to be here. So great news on the budget front.
Excellent. All right. Would you like to talk about the policy review concerning circulation policy?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So as part of our proposal to go fine free, we talked about this a few months ago at the meeting, but there's kind of a 2-pronged approach. So we need the town's approval on the budget side because this is a change in our revenue. And then we need your approval as the library board because this is a change in our policy. And so what we did as staff is take the opportunity to review our circulation policy. That's the document that sets out the fines and fees and how our circulation works. So we looked through the whole policy. We certainly looked at the fine-free aspects, but this is our first major policy that me as director is bringing to the board, and I have really pushed staff to look at how we can simplify this policy. There's a lot of procedural elements in a lot of our policies, and I think it's helpful for both staff and the public to have a very straightforward policy that is accurately and clearly telling everyone how things work, but it doesn't need to be bogged down with the procedures of how many days something goes out or how, you know, if it's out this days, then you'll get this notice and that sort of thing. That's very procedural. That's something we will absolutely share with the public. We'll have a section on our website with all of those details. But from my perspective, it doesn't need to be at the policy level where if it needs to change, we come back to the board to say we want it to be 24 days instead of 22 days or something like that. So I had sent out the draft policy and it's part of the packet with the agenda today. And I thought I would go through and call out some of the major areas of change. And I would like to invite you to interrupt me and ask if there's any questions as we go, and then I can answer them if they come up. Is that good with everybody? Okay, great. So the first section, it begins with registration and it talks about who's eligible. So West Hartford residents are eligible for library cards, and it goes through adults, teens, and children's because there's slightly different parameters based on your age. All of that, the content is the same, but we cleaned up the language and tried to make it easier for someone to look at the policy and say, oh, I'm a teen. Am I eligible? What do I have to do? The section we took out is like the proof of address, how you prove residencies. Sometimes those things can change. There can be different methods or updates to things. So we didn't want this like exhaustive list in the policy. Again, I felt like that was a procedural thing. We'll post it on our website. We'll have it at the circulation desk so we can tell people how to get a card. It's just not a policy level thing. We have other categories. So and these didn't change, but there are student cards and temporary resident cards. So there are kids that attend schools in West Hartford that don't live here. So we have a student card where they can get a card for our library as long as they're attending a school in West Hartford. We also offer temporary resident cards. That's a bit more restrictive, but it allows people who may be here for a few months that are caring for a relative or have a short-term job or something. They don't have a permanent address to provide proof of residency, but they're here and we want them to be able to use the library while they're here. So those didn't change. Those are part of the policy, but that's just some of the kind of language we tried to clean up and explain to people. And we added in a section on consortium libraries because nothing in the policy spoke to the fact that we're part of a consortium. And that's actually really important because some of the things in here are governed by our consortium and are not up to our decision. So things like what is like the maximum fine threshold before a notice is sent, that's decided at the consortium level. And I'm on for the consortium, so I have a voice and I participate in those discussions, but that's part of sharing a catalog and sharing the resources with 30 other libraries. So anything that's governed by the consortium, I took out of the policy because that's something that the consortium decides, and we follow along as a member. So that's kind of page 1 of the document you get. And then page 2, so another big section I took out was the loan periods. And that's kind of what I was talking about, the number of days that something is out. If we wanted to take advantage of the declining use of DVDs and loan them out for 2 weeks instead of 1. I wanted that to be the flexibility of the library, looking at the demands of our public, the usage data, instead of having to come to the board to modify things like that. So that's stuff that we took out. And so the next major section is the loans. So it just kind of describes that things are out, you can renew them. If you can't renew them, it's because somebody else is waiting for them. And we have opportunities to get other materials through the state, through interlibrary loan and the Deliberate program. And then the last section is the fines and fees. And this one had, the significant changes in order to go fine free. And so it starts saying that as of July 1, we will not charge fines for most overdue library materials. Some late fees may still apply for equipment or specialty loans. And I talked with the staff and we're still trying to figure out what to do with things like hotspots that have a very high cost to the library and have a high demand that we don't have a lot of them and people are waiting for them. So how do we get them back? But we also don't want to penalize the people who need them the most with the harshest fines. That seems to kind of go opposite to the whole spirit of the fine-free proposal. So we are working with with our consortium and our options in our catalog. What we think we can do is change the parameters on an item level so that instead of having a fine, it would block your account if it's not returned after a few days. And then as soon as you return it, the block is removed and there's no fine associated with it. So it's not this penalty from a monetary cost, but it does say you can't use the other library resources until you bring back this thing that other people are waiting for. I didn't want to spell that out here because we want to have kind of a pilot or, a trial and error to see how that works, what the impact is on the patrons if there's something we're not seeing with that. So I'd like the flexibility in the policy to see how that is, but also to be able to report back to the board in the coming months to let you know how we've modified that, what we're seeing from the public. Rapid reads is another area where it's not a high dollar value for the thing, but the point of the program is to get the item back so it can go out to the next person. So we're looking at how could we maybe block their account to prompt them to return an item and then lift the block as soon as it's back. And then the last, it also mentions that there may be fees that other libraries charge. So because we're a part of a consortium, we have to honor their policy. So if there's another library that does still charge overdue fees, you request the item, you're late with it, you do still owe that library money because that's their policy. So I wanted to make sure that was clear to people.
Laura, could I jump in on that? This is Kim, library board member. I think it might make sense just to say one sentence somewhere, maybe at the end, that just sort of says this whole policy might be subject in part to other people's policies, because you made that really good point about the consortium, it's not just fees, so maybe at the end it's, maybe it's some statement about, borrowing periods, fines, and other rules may be governed by, policies by one of these other partner organizations, just something like that, because then, you know, it's sort of it gives that warning to other people that there could be other rules. This is not the full book on and definitive, you know, treatise on everything. And sort of, you know, and it would be true, you know, right? Because like you said, we are a member of these different organizations, and so we'd have to abide by that, but you still wouldn't have to update our policy if those rules change.
Thank you, Kim. That's a great suggestion. I think, and when you get to the vote and you can discuss this, but I think if you're comfortable, I could add a sentence that said something about the borrowing rules or something to that effect, maybe different for other institutions, and to check with the owning library for their own policies and procedures, or something about like this policy applies to materials owned by the West Hartford Public Library. Any libraries borrowed through us are subject to the policies of the owning library.
Yeah.
So I see, and then at the end, we just talk a little bit about if you don't return an item, your borrowing privileges are suspended. So when I talk about there's a block on your account, that's what it means. If you try to check something out, it says you have an overdue item, you've exceeded a fine, something like that, and you can't check anything out or use the library resources with your card until you have either returned the item or paid the replacement fee. And then the last sentence is saying that, so for example, if you checked out Happy Place by Emily Henry and you dropped it in the ocean because you're on vacation, it's not coming back. We would probably charge you the list price because, you know, like that's the cost of the item. You could get it on Amazon for less. So you might want to say, I bought this book and I'm giving it to you. Like I'm replacing the thing that I lost. And so we're saying that's fine. We can't take any book. We can't take her backlist book from 4 years ago. We can't take a book that you had kicking around your house forever. But if you want to buy the book instead of paying the fee for it, what we want to do is just get the replacement in order to give it back to our patrons. So that's my pretty quick overview. Natalia, did you have a question?
Yes, Natalia Mantibar, library board member. So I just wanted to be sure when you mentioned, so if something doesn't come back because it's overdue, previously there would have been a small fine accruing. Does that mean that person's account immediately gets blocked, or you're saying past a certain threshold of whether that fine would have accumulated, that's when it might get blocked? When is the block account getting blocked?
So an item can be overdue for a month before the block goes on the card. So you get a notice, it's overdue, you get the email. If you look on your account, the status is overdue, or it says the date it was due. But you have a month of it being in that overdue status before it then goes to billed is the status in our catalog. And so then you get the notice saying this item needs to be returned or you need to pay the replacement fee. Your account is billed, and that's when the change goes onto your card.
Okay, so patrons won't see a fine amount accruing. They'll simply see the date, you know, that it was supposed to be returned, that it's overdue, and their account could be subject to being blocked after a certain period of time. Okay, that month. Okay.
Yes, and we have the flexibility. So if someone said that they're out of town and they expected to get back, but they're, you know, some circumstances change, they won't be back for another week, we could extend the date so that they're not in a billed status. Like we always work with people on a case-by-case basis. So if there's something where circumstances happen, they're making a good faith effort, they're contacting us and letting us know, we can work with them on that.
Do you think, oh, sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say, do you think we should say a comparable same title replacement? I'm just thinking there could be special items, like if you had large print, like there's probably some people who would be really upset if like you got just, you know, the Emily Henry and like normal font, you know, instead or something like that. I don't know. This is definitely the lawyer coming through, but I wonder if we want to just make that clearer.
This was the most debate that I had with staff. So we have a lot of different opinions.
Okay.
Some of us were saying we should take any book, and others were saying, do you know the staff time it would take to review if we should take that book, and if it's added to the collection, and then we have to process it, and then we have to catalog it. So I tried to say at the library's discretion to give us a little bit of wiggle room there. And if it is the wrong, like if they brought in a large print and they had lost the regular print, like I think we would honor the spirit of it, because we don't want to turn this into a negative customer service interaction. Like again, they're trying to make up for it. So when we train our staff and when we talk to them about that, we think about like what, you know, are they trying to follow the policy, and maybe they didn't get it quite right, but can we work with this, and can we use the book, can it go in our book sale, like it. So there's usually something that we can do about that. But we did want language so they wouldn't just be like, oh, I lost a book, so I'm bringing you one that's been in my house for 15 years and I don't want anymore, and a book's a book, so can't you take it? Because that's not helping our patrons. That's not giving them something that they want.
Nope, that all makes sense, and I think that at the library's discretion covers, you know, you in both directions if you want to be strict or not.
Great.
I think this is exciting. I know we talked about this even from maybe your initial interview process about, you know, this is sort of the direction a lot of libraries are going, and I think it's exciting that we're kind of catching on to that movement.
Yeah, this is great for our patrons. I'm so excited. So I said it at July 1 because I wanted to give us time to build up like the, to train staff, to get everything in place, and to kind of build up a promotional campaign of welcome back to the library. Like we want you to come back. Whatever's been keeping you from being here, we want you in our buildings. We want you using our services. So that, yes, I'm very excited about this.
That's really great. I'm excited for you and happy that it'll, happy for everyone, as I am like the worst library offender from day one. My first job was as a library page. You would think I'd be more with the program, but so this is a good thing for everyone. All right. So, any other questions for people or comments? Everybody's good? Okay. If you're ready, we can move on to item 7 with new business about the late. Go ahead.
Eileen, before we move, I'm wondering if you are comfortable voting to approve it with the sentence I'm going to add that Kim requested about the subjecting to West Hartford materials.
Sure, I didn't. Yes, I'm happy to have that go through. May I please have a motion to approve the new circulation policy with the sentence that Kim Cohen would like added for this final print.
Natalia Mantivar, library board member, motion to approve the updated circulation policy.
Second, please.
Kim Cohen, library board member, I second the motion.
Thank you. All right, all in favor?
Or do you want to do a roll, Eileen?
You don't have to if everyone's in favor, but very good.
Thank you.
All right, I'm glad and wish you luck with the new policy. So now go to new business. We're going to talk about the late opening for the active shooter training.
Thank you, Eileen. I think this is a quick one, but unfortunately, in the world we live in, the training for active shooter scenario is a reality for us. So we're working with the town's emergency management team, and we'd like them to come in. We have a date tentatively scheduled for June where they would do a training from 9 to 11. And so I'm asking that we delay our opening to 11:30 so we can have every staff who can come in, part-time, full-time, everybody who can make it, attend the training. And then that gives them time to go back to the branches because we'll all be in one location in order to open up. So we would open at 11:30. We're thinking of Thursday, June 15th, but I'm wondering if you could approve this with an upcoming training in the few months, just in case that date moves and they have to reschedule. The opening time would be the same.
Oh, sure.
So asking for approval.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, sometimes things have to get moved. All right, so another motion then. That's what you're asking for, correct? Okay. So may I please have a motion to approve, if not June 15th, another day in the future for active shooter training for the staff of our town library in West Hartford. Very good. So moved. May I have a second? Oh, I'm sorry. You guys raised your hand to do the motion. Go ahead. EJ. I was on a
EJ
roll.
Greenspan, board member, I move the motion.
Thank you. Second?
I second.
Yes, thank you. All in favor? Hands up. All right. Very good. And now we've got the director's reports from Laura. You're on once more.
Thank you, Eileen. So I'm sure that you all feel this in our hearts, but we have some proof for it that we have an award-winning library and staff.
Bravo.
We won the best library in the Best of Hartford 2023 Readers Poll. Over 30,000 people voted on it, and we are the best library. And so we are so thrilled that community recognized us and appreciate us, and just so happy. And then another great news, one of our staff, Team Librarian Carrie Karp, received the Connecticut Library Association's Young Adult Service Award at their annual conference in May. This award is selected by the YA section of CLA, and it honors an outstanding librarian serving the young adult community. Carrie was recognized for her dedication to the teens in West Hartford and to her creative programming that fosters community and collaboration. So kudos to Carrie, and really kudos to the entire West Hartford Library team for everything they do every day. Wanted to give you some more information.
Congratulations.
On the event. Thank you, Amy. Our Gertrude Blank storytelling event, our second annual one, will be on June 13th. And we have a great lineup of speakers that we've finalized. And I'd like to tell you who will be at the program. I hope you all can make it. Andre Kitt has been storytelling for over 2 decades. He spins tales from a list of over 30 story programs he created from his love of reading about Africans, African Americans, dinosaurs, mystery, and spooky stuff. He also has a personal connection to Gertrude Blanks. He worked at the Hartford Public Library and joined Gertrude on some of her storytelling gatherings. So he'll be both doing storytelling and talking about his connection with Gertrude. Mike Keogh is a storyteller, public speaker, and photographer that weaves personal and community narratives to create a local dialogue on equity, inclusion, anti-racism, and collaboration. And Karen Prescott is an activist, advocate, organizer, business owner, author, survivor, and LaSalle University alum with a degree in psychology. They're all going to be talking about their life's journey. We think it's going to be a really fun, engaging event. It's going to be over the First Church Auditorium, and we hope to see you there. Last month, I mentioned that we had received a generous grant from the Stanley D. and Hinda N. Fisher Fund at the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving to host Facts and Fun again this summer. We had registration last week at the Faxon Library in the evening. We had people lining up for about an hour before the start of registration, but thankfully we're able to take everybody who showed up that night. So we had 34 registrants the first night, and as of this afternoon, our 1st through 3rd grade session is filled, and we have some people on the wait list, and we have 2 slots left in the 4th through 6th grade session. So we knew it would go quick, and we're happy that we can provide this camp for the kids this summer. You may have seen a bit of change in our Noah Webster Library if you've been in the last few weeks. We have new hold shelving. So our holds used to be in kind of the back of the building near the elevator when you come up from Blueback. And we worked with a company to design some custom shelving that fits into our circulation desk. And it's perfect. It looks like it was built that way from the beginning. So now it's right by the front door. If you do the 15-minute parking out front, you can just run in and grab your holds. And it's opening up the back space so that when you come up from the elevator from Blueback, we're working on having a much more inviting and welcoming experience instead of kind of walking into a wall behind the holds. So more to come, but the hold shelf is great so far. And then I just want to give you a few more quick highlights about what's going on. So our puzzle exchange is expanding. We now have it on display in the Bishop's Corner branch. So stop into Noah Webster or Bishop's, do some puzzles, pick up something to take home, bring it back and try out a new one. Our Mayor's Youth Council had their final meeting of the year, and we are now accepting applications for next year's session. And those applications are available through May 31st. We have CPR training coming up on Tuesday, June 6th. It's hosted by the West Hartford Fire Department. And we've been partnering with a lot of the town services to provide these trainings. And it's a great avenue for them to get the word out to the community. And we've been able to have some staff participate too. So we're happy to have this session. And finally, we have a great virtual program coming up next week on May 30th. Vinny Bruno was here a little while ago. He hosted a Beatles program for us earlier in the year, and this time he's telling us about Elton John. We'll travel with Elton from his early days in London as a songwriter and session man through his international fame as a solo performer. The talk will focus on his golden years from 1970 to 1976, where he dominated worldwide records charts with 15 hit singles, ranging from the ballad Your Song to the rocker Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. So it's a virtual program, no limit on attendees. Hope that you can catch an enjoyable and fun evening with Vinny Bruno and Elton John songs. Those are my updates. If anyone has any questions or wants any more information, I'm happy to share that with you.
What regarding the CPR, is that for the kids or adults?
Oh, that's adults, but
Okay.
it's open to everyone.
I didn't know if the teens were allowed to try. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
It is during the day though. I think it's during school.
Ah, all right. Very good. Is everyone all set? Any questions about anything? No? Okay. Well, with that, I have a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting is set for June 26, 2023. Hi, Natalia.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
I have a second. EJ,
A second.
all approved. Say aye. All right, beautiful. All right, I hope you guys all have a great Memorial Day weekend and the months to come.